Thank you very much, and good day to the viewers. Unfortunately, yes, we have lost Comrade Sduduzo Magwaza in a tragic incident which happened in his house late yesterday afternoon. Unfortunately, Mr. Sduduzo Magwaza was coming from a community meeting which he was part of, and when he got into his house, he was then attacked and shot right in front of his family, which is a very sad and a tragic incident.
Any ideas at this stage, Mr. Dube, as to who could be behind this? Were there any enemies of Mr. Magwaza that he may have been aware of?
Well, anybody who is quite honest about Mr. Magwaza, he was a very open book. He has never been a person who harbored any grudges. So it's a person, even if the issues were as burning as one may think, but he's one person who was able to cough out everything. So I do not see him as a person who had known enemies, not unless if he was actually creating certain threats or which were known to us. But the reality of the matter is that Mr. Magwaza was never afraid to speak to the power. He was always like that. And he really never, we was never shy to accept a defeat in any debate if there was a valid point that superseded his point. So it was a mystery to all of us. Yeah. We would like to speculate, but when you start speculating, you are equally disturbing the investigation that is underway.
Indeed, and I take that to heart. But I must also put it to you, Mr. Dube, that KZN has unfortunately become synonymous with political killings. Are you able to dispel that for the time being, or again, are we putting ourselves in the realm of speculation?
Once again, when you talk about KZN, it has got a long history of violence, which is without, which it cannot be ruled out in terms of the aftermath effect that happens when something has been a trend and a culture in certain areas of KZN. But you know, at this day and age, one would actually think that the civilization or the development that is happening around is a main factor that will assist people not to think beyond killing each other. They shouldn't be thinking that direction, because the situations were different then. But by look of things, it looks like the situation is not getting any better. Even though I cannot confirm and say it's a political killing or what, but when a particular incident happens, like for instance, you will know, even when the crime statistics were released, you will appreciate the fact that Umlazi became the number one township for murder, and Inanda becoming the number two township for rape, which means maybe generally crime is out there, and those scrupulous people are probably taking advantage of that, which is why sometimes we fear to make statements that will actually be speculative, because that might derail the investigation of the law enforcement agencies.
Yeah, and the family of Mr. Magwaza at this time, have you been in contact with them, and what have they said to you?
Well, I'm with the family as I speak, and the rest of the family is on their way from Ulundi, because that's where Mr. Magwaza is originally from. He's been there over the holidays, and he came back to work because he works in Durban. So they're on the way. Probably they'll be here in the next hour, but the other members are already here because his sister and his kids are here. So, yeah.
It's a sad situation, being shot dead in front of your own family. It's unthinkable. Talk to us about the relationship that Mr. Magwaza had with Zandile Gumede. How would you characterize that relationship?
Well, Mr. Magwaza is a champion of the weak, if I may put it that way. He actually despises injustice because, you know, when I met him, he was a fairly young fellow when we first met. Then I couldn't actually see him until we met here in Durban, because Politically, that's what brought us back together, And the relationship with Mzomuhle Dube was solely based on the disbursement of justice, to say, when it comes to politics, let us find a way to protect women. Let us make sure that women do not become victims, even if they qualify to occupy senior and prominent positions, but we cannot look down upon them and say because they are women, they don't qualify. So it's under that premise that Magwaza stood very strong and very firm behind Mzomuhle Dube, stood very firm and very strong, even behind the Ward Council of Wardgate, where Magwaza was seen all the time protecting the councillor there, meaning that the councillor was a female councillor, but she stood very strong in terms of supporting that councillor until the end of term of office, which means he is that person who definitely can never allow a situation where certain people are victimized just because of their gender status.
Yeah, and I imagine at a time like this, Ms. Zandile Gumede is devastated.
Very much devastated, I can tell, because, people who support you voluntarily and who have got nothing to gain, who stand for justice, are very few these days. And when you happen to have someone who say, I'm your ally, I'm prepared to fight your battles, it becomes a tragedy. You lose that person.
Mzomuhle Dube, thank you very much for your time.